So another stage of color management in Lightroom is actually doing the export. And you're going to show us how you prepare images for the web.
I'm going to show you not only how I prepare them for the web, but how I upload them.
Oh, cool.
And all that. Yeah. This is secret behind the scenes stuff.
Top secret, tell no one.
Okay. The export module, file, export. So I have two presets, for LL and for Photoshop editing. Let's look at for Photoshop editing first. What I do here is I export to the desktop, because this is just a temporary location. And I can go to TIFF or PSD, and as we were just discussing before, TIFF probably makes the most sense because it's not proprietary.
You'd then want to update your preset.
I will hit Control, update with current settings.
Yeah. I will point out that that is one of the most powerful aspects of developing an efficient workflow, but it's also one of the most irritating aspects of Lightroom is you change anything, then, you know, you're not on the preset.
Yeah.
So you got to remember to, if you want to make the change. Otherwise, you can make the change ad hoc.
Yeah.
And then,
but the next time you come back to your preset, it'll be what it was originally.
Correct.
Okay, no compression, TIFF, ProPhoto RGB. I want the biggest color space, 16-bit. Include video files, it doesn't matter, I'm not doing video files. And then, what do you want to happen afterwards? And so one of the things I can do is I can open it up in CS5 or I can go to CS4. Well, I'm not going to go through all of that now, but then you hit export and it'll go off.
And in this case, no image sizing and no output sharpening.
Exactly, because I just want to get the parametrically edited raw file into Photoshop as a bit image with all the characteristics, but in its largest color space, biggest bit depth. I want it to be as good as it can be.
I would point out though that a lot of times that you really only want to export for Photoshop editing if you're doing volume. That's where it makes sense to do an actual export. If you're in the develop module and you simply want to pop it into Photoshop, just Command E or Control E.
Export, yeah. For LL, this is how I prepare images now for the web. So, export to specific location. That location is my desktop. Again, it's just temporary. I don't care about file naming. I don't know why I had this set to PSD. I'm going to change it to TIFF. I'm going to sRGB. Typical monitors, TV sets, other than those high-end devices used by photographers who want to have an Adobe RGB color space monitor, which are still pretty expensive compared to ordinary monitors, sRGB. That's part of the trick.
And you know what sRGB stands for?
Suboptimal.
Literally, the reason that it's called small s RGB was Michael Stokes, when he was actually at HP, started working on this because it was an embodiment of a standard PC display. So,
well, it comes from the TV industry as well. There was an NAB standard of some sort that was very similar to sRGB.
So basically, it was a small standard, or small RGB space. You could also say it stood for Stokes, Michael Stokes RGB, sRGB. Then Michael moved to Microsoft, and Microsoft turned it into something more than what it was intended to be. It was the default color space of Windows, and then so we all decided that then, okay, now that was satanic RGB. But now actually what I call it is just simple RGB. It's not a complex wide gamut space, it's just a simple color space. But sRGB, it may not be a perfect color space for all web use or iPad or any of the tablets or iPhone, but at this point it's kind of the common denominator for display space.
And the next item is bit depth, definitely 8-bit. No point in 16-bit for
because you're not going to do post-processing in Photoshop.
Absolutely
You're just going to do cropping and then save.
Well, not even that. I'll show you what I do.
Okay.
So 8-bit, include video files, doesn't matter. Now, this is important, image sizing, resize to fit. And what I do is I resize to 800 by 800.
Okay.
That is the largest image that I put up on my website. So I can always scale it down, as you'll see. I'll do that in Photoshop, but 800 by 800, so why have it any bigger?
So what that means is if you have a horizontal, the maximum would be 800 wide. If you had a vertical, the maximum would be 800 tall. And if you had a square, it would be 800 by 800.
Right. And that's a size that is big enough so that most people, say on a laptop screen, have a nice big image on their screen, but it isn't so big that someone can rip the file off by sucking it off the web and doing anything with it.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Well, I know.
They could reuse it at 800 by 800.
They can, but I don't worry about it. And also some people watermark, their images. If someone wants an 800 by 800 copy of one of my images, be my guest. Just don't use it commercially. Next line is sharpening. Sharpen for screen.
Yes.
Because the sharpening that's applied needs to be appropriate for a 72 to 120 ppi screen rather than a 200, 300, 400 ppi print. So
and this is actually something that is under discussion for a future yet unannounced version of an application from Adobe. Because of the fact that screen displays are changing, what might be an optimal sharpening for the standard 72 to 110 or 120, the resolution of the retinal displays of the iPhone.
The retinal display on the iPhone is 320 something ppi.
Yeah.
That's really high resolution.
And so there is some thought to having screen having multiple resolutions.
That's great.
Kind of a standard resolution, a high resolution, and a lower resolution.
And I'm sure we're going to see iPads and other tablets with displays in the 300 ppi range as well.
Yeah.
That's just not more than another couple of years away.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, if they could make them Adobe RGB in 300 ppi. Okay, enough.
Well, and it's actually a problem because if you were exporting specifically for the iPhone or the iPad, it would be nice to actually export for your specific iPad's profile. But I don't really know of an easy way. Somebody was posting on the LuLa forums about having made a profile, and it was a very geeky sort of like, I ain't going to do that. But there's no easy way really to profile an iPad.
Right. And then the last item is metadata. Minimize, I click. And the reason I do it is because if you don't hit minimize, then the file that you upload to the web has all your personal data in it. What camera you shot with, what f-stop, what aperture, any other EXIF data that's there. If you don't want that stuff to be there, click on that. So now, post-processing after export, open in another application, and what I have is selected is it's going to go into CS4. So just while I'm here, do a control click and update this because I changed from PSD to TIFF, and now I'm going to hit export. Okay, so here it is in Photoshop as 800 by 800 sRGB.
You're still using Photoshop CS4?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm waiting for 5.5 to ship.
Yeah, okay.
You had me worried there for a minute. Am I in the wrong century?
No, I'm sorry. I just...
If you're familiar, my website has a black background, and depending on the image, I want to frame the image a little bit. So what I do is I do what's called a stroke, color stroke. And the way you accomplish this is you do a Command A, edit, stroke, choose the color, and I typically do a 2-pixel yellowy orange border. That's my standard. That's the color scheme of our website. And then I do a file, save for web and devices. Okay, this is important. Your settings now, it's going to export as a JPEG. It's going to be maximum image quality, quality 100%, optimized. Convert to sRGB is clicked. It doesn't matter. It's already in sRGB. And that's basically it. And down here, it's letting me know that this is going to be about a 700K file. So I hit save. Now I give it a name, SMA wall, San Miguel Allende wall. And it's going to go to my desktop. Okay? Next thing I do is image size, and I make a smaller version. Because I typically have what I call a thumbnail, and then I have the big one on the page by itself. So I usually make these about 6 by 7 inches. I'm Canadian, I should be in metric, but I still think in inches.
And then
I do bicubic sharper, which is best for reduction. Say OK, and I do a file, save for web and devices. I do a save, and there's my SMA wall, and I add the word thumb. Save it to my desktop. So now let's quit Photoshop. And over here on my desktop, I have SMA wall. So this is 439 by 504 pixels, and this is 697 by 800. So now what I will do is I will go to the website. I'm not going to show you all the arcane stuff, but basically...
You're not going to show everybody how to log in as an
No, I'm
administrator?
not. What I can do now is, and again, different programs will have different ways of doing this. I'm going to go to Upload, choose Files. There are the 2 files, and I'm going to open them, and I'm going to say Upload to Server. It's thinking, and it's done. And there they are. And now I'm going to put the big one on the page, and that's it. It's now on a standalone page. Command S to save it. And it's now on the website. And I could show you how I link it and all of that, but that's unimportant. No. The point here is that step, which takes about 2 minutes, is come out of Lightroom as an sRGB, 800 pixels, go into Photoshop, I put a border around it by stroking the border with the color I want. I then do a save to web and devices, and that's now going out as an sRGB file. It's properly sharpened for the web, and uploaded it to the website, and there it is.
Bob's your uncle.
And Bob is indeed your uncle, and Madge is your aunt.
Cool. Very simple.